You've made it to your last assignment, which is your sort of big picture assignment, doing a 1,500-word trend story that you localize to an area, community, city, state, region, whatever you want to choose. So I want to take you through one I did recently for Corp Magazine. Corp Magazine is a publication for Michigan businesses, and it's sent to sort of executives who are CEOs and CFOs and vice presidents and those kind of things. And so my editor said, why don't we do a story about mobile payments and how retailers and other people are using mobile payments to pay for purchases. So he gave me the idea, and I went with it and started to find companies in Michigan that were involved in the local payment, mobile payment kind of arena. So during my research, found a number of different companies in Michigan that were involved in this. I also found out that JCPenney at the time was looking to sort of revolutionize the way customers pay for purchases at the store. So, since they had redone some of the stores in the Metro Detroit area, I took my son out and we went out to 12 Oaks and decided to use that as my lead. The story that I wrote is attached to this folder, so you can take a look at that and sort of follow along if you'd like. So I tried to use a delayed lead, sort of a personal kind of lead about the experience my son and I had buying a product at JCPenney without using a cash register. So we used an iPad, I signed it with my finger, and we moved on. So once I knew sort of what lead I was going to use, I had to sort of figure out where I was going to put all the information I had gathered for the story. What I decided to do, and what you usually do for larger stories, is you sort of break things into smaller pieces. So you've got sort of the lead and what's going on here. Then you move on to some smaller pieces. And you usually set these smaller pieces off with a small little header that explains what's to come in several paragraphs. So again, this is a 2,500 word story, so this is a little bit longer than what you're doing. So your story is not going to be as detailed or as evolved as this one. But it gives you an idea of how to break things up, put things in smaller chunks. These kind of stories require a great deal of research. So you're going to spend a lot of time talking to people, scouring the internet looking for things. So these are the sources for my story. This is the CEO of Big B Coffee. I figured that Starbucks was doing things with mobile payments and they were very involved in this. So I checked out a local firm that's based out of Lansing and talked to Bob Fish over there, and he gave me a quote about what Big B's doing. Doing some look online, I found Casey Ford of a sort of an online program, online business that does things with apps. So I talked to him and interviewed him from Spring Lake. Another company that's local, Mobile Comply. I talked to the CEO of that company, and she gave me her points of view about this. I also looked online. Forrester Research does a lot of technology research. They're sort of a think tank that deals mostly with high-tech kind of things. And they have a whole bunch of blogs and reports and press releases and things that talk about this. So one of the things you'd really like to do for a trend story, and when you localize it, is to find what the trend is and find out what experts are saying about it. And chances are there's an organization, an association, or something out there that does things with this, that's involved in whatever you're going to talk about. Like I mentioned in previous classes, I did a story about miniature golf courses. And there's a miniature golf course association. So at the time, this was many years ago, I called the guy and asked him for some information about why miniature golf was popular and everything like that. Today, you could probably drop someone an email to their press office or someone in their public relations department, and they'll tell you what's going on or give you some kind of content. Again, it's going to be a little harder for you because you're not working for a publication, you're sort of doing this for a class. But I think if you explain that, most people will give you the time of day and at least give you some kind of answers to your questions. So if you look at this, I mean, there's extensive research done on this. These are all interviews I did, mostly over the phone. I also found some things, transcripts online that I used. So this is going to be the most sort of involved story you're going to work on during the whole semester. And so that's why it culminates with your final project. Looked at some other stories. I didn't use information from like the USA Today story or anything today, but I used that as a sort of a starting off point to find out more about what JCPenney does. And then I dug deeper on the web. All right, these are some of the stories I wrote. And again, looking at some of a press release from Forrester. Square had just announced something for a partnership with Starbucks, so that played into my story. This was our article that they had written for Corp Magazine earlier, and my editor sent that to me. Another one like that. This is a speech a guy gave. And then this is a survey about mobile phones from Nielsen. So a great deal of research. You're talking a number of sources, probably more than a half dozen, maybe up to double digits. Your job is to take the information, write an article, localizing a trend, and putting together 1,500 words of your best effort ever. So good luck with this and have some fun.